Good morning, everyone. Welcome to SCARP. My name is Lisa Meacham. I'm the Director of Social Services at Woodlawn in Skowhegan. I am the acting president to SCARP, and I am a co-chair to the Domestic Violence Task Force meeting. Excuse me. I'm really glad to see everybody here today. I'm going to select each one of you, and then we'll go around and introduce ourselves just to make sure that everybody knows who is here. So with that being said, Sonia, how are you this morning?
I'm good, thank you. Sonia Campbell. I work with Maine Families through KBCAP, and I'm also the treasurer of SCARP.
Michelle, good morning.
Good morning. I'm Michelle Leclerc with Family Violence Project. We're the Domestic Violence Resource Center serving Kennebec and Somerset.
Rob, good morning.
Hi there, Rob Rogers, Kennebec Behavioral Health. I'm the Director of Substance Use Prevention and Grant Services and the Respect Me program, a certified domestic violence intervention program for females.
Dana, good morning. It's good to see you.
Good morning. I'm Dana Hamilton with KBCAP. I'm a resource navigator for Somerset County.
T. Harvey, good morning. And T. Harvey, I know that's not your name and I apologize.
Good morning. My name is Tara, and I work for KVCAP alongside Dana.
Good morning. Bree.
Good morning. I'm Bree Martin. I work for Maine State Housing Authority, and I'm a family self-sufficiency specialist.
Good morning, Rob.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Rob McCann. I work for Congressman Golden. I help him cover Somerset, Piscataquis, and Kennebec County. I'm happy to be here today, and thanks for having me.
I'm glad you're here. Karen.
I am Karen Chase. I'm the Somerset County Options Liaison with Crisis and Counseling and the Vice President of SCARP.
Linda, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Linda McKenzie from Somerset Public Health and Reddington Fairview General Hospital. I'm the project manager for the Pathways to Recovery grant and project, and we serve all of Somerset County.
Kristen, good morning.
Good morning. I'm Kristen Plummer. I am the community coordinator for the Child Abuse and Neglect Prevention Council for KVCAP in Somerset County.
Good morning, Jody.
Good morning. I'm Jody Waterhouse with Catholic Charities of Maine. I am program coordinator for their search and RSVP program, and I'm brand new to this position, so I'm hoping to learn from everybody today.
Wonderful. Well, welcome. We're glad to have you. Lori.
Hi, I'm Lori Manzer. I work at 1 Madison Avenue. I'm the resident service coordinator there. And I work, well, self-employed, but for Harbor View Management.
Welcome. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning. I am Paul Lessard, the team leader for the Behavioral Health Network for Catholic Charities Maine North Division.
Good morning, everyone. We're glad to have you. We are going to start looking at, you all should have received the bylaws along with this Zoom link. And so we really wanted to look at those bylaws, how they're proposed now, and then vote to make sure that you all approve with any changes that may have been made. I know Brittany has created some polls around that, correct, Brittany?
Yes.
Yes. I'm sorry. Does anybody have any questions regarding the bylaws, what they've read, anything along those lines before we poll folks? I want to give you an opportunity for some feedback. Right, if there's no questions, we'll just go ahead and Brittany can launch the poll and we'll vote on the bylaws as they stand. Brittany, I've never done one of these polls, so I'm not sure what it says
Okay.
end poll on my end, but I'm not sure if we're ready to end. I don't know, so I apologize.
It says 9 out of 11 people have voted.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that those 2 people who have not said yes or no are going to not vote. So I will end the poll, and it was 100% yes. So we will move forward with implementing those 2 bylaws.
Perfect. Thank you so much. The next item on our agenda is some updates on the community fridge project from Karen.
So community fridge update is, so I did get the Good Shepherd Food Bank grant completed, submitted. I had sat for a questions and answers kind of review board. They had some really good questions and some things that to kind of look into. Their biggest questions was around food safety and who would kind of monitor that and what that would look like. So, there was just some other things that we might have to look into if we don't get the grant through the Good Shepherd Food Bank. The awards notification is tomorrow, so I will have a better understanding on if we got that grant tomorrow. Unfortunately, I was hoping it would be before today, but it's not. So hopefully I could have a better update on if we was awarded this grant and kind of how to move forward with the community fridge if we are awarded this, and if we're not, then it's kind of back to the drawing board of how do we get this project up and running.
Karen, would you be able to give some background and some more details about what the community fridge is, just for the folks who are joining us today for the first time? I think that might be helpful for context.
Yeah, definitely. So the community fridge was started at the start of kind of COVID in 2020 by a group of women who saw that there was a need in the community. They had a fridge donated to this project, and it was originally located by the Chamber of Commerce, and the Chamber of Commerce was kind of using the fridge was using their power and things like that. They did have another kind of small donation box for dry goods beside of it. But over the years, having a fridge outside in Maine winters unprotected caused a lot of issues for the fridge, and it recently broke down this winter in February. And the women were just not willing to kind of take on that project again. Again, there's some barriers with it, like the fridge breaking down, food safety, who monitors that, cleaning out the fridge, and then again, location. The Chamber of Commerce found that there was a lot of traffic in and out, and the community charter school is right there, so they were just there's a lot of barriers to where it actually was. So I've talked with like Maine Grains, and they're willing to house a shed, a 10 by 10 shed, to hopefully protect the community fridge from the elements of Maine winters. Again, the kind of the panel that had the question and answers kind of pushed back on that a little bit as well, and said, well, we have fridges in our heated and insulated garage, and they still have trouble keeping up with Maine winters. So again, that might be something we have to look into, is maybe a heating source. So canned goods and things like that don't freeze. But that's kind of the background of the community fridge, is that it was just run by a group of women who saw a need in the community, and they just weren't willing to kind of continue with that project. However, I've seen multiple posts on social media, web forums, where people were interested in having the community fridge back. I've talked to quite a few people who really benefited from the fridge. from, both being able to leave food that they've had extra of or be able to take it as needed. I know Sonia had mentioned before that sense of community and pride that they're able to, donate food back when they're able to.
Thank you, Karen. Any other questions regarding the community fridge? No. Okay, so the next item, we're actually moving quite along quite nicely today. Our next item on our agenda is a financial update and then a potential donation to a community member, resource member.
Yes, I'll start with part of this. So we did get the paperwork signed to transfer from Russ being the treasurer to Mason now with Lisa on the account. We do have some funds. I left the statement at home, so I don't have the exact amount. It's over $1,000, and nothing has gone out of that account except the monthly $3 charge for over the last year. So there's been no activity.
And Sonia, when you have access to that, would you send us a balance statement, the balance amount, so that when we send out the minutes or another email with, say, the updates on the refrigerator after tomorrow, we can provide that information to folks so we know
Yes,
where we
that's
stand
the exact
currently? That would be
number.
great. Perfect. Thank you so much. Michelle, I know you're turned your mic off, but this would be a great opportunity to talk about a potential donation in regards to the vigil that is scheduled in October. Hi, Michelle.
Yeah, hi. So we are planning to have every October for Domestic Violence Awareness Month, the Somerset DV Task Force plans a vigil. And this year we're looking at doing a forum as well. So the vigil would likely be in the space behind the space on the river. It's like along the river behind downtown. So it would be a little more out of the way. We traditionally have done it at Coburn Park, but we're just finding Coburn Park is very loud. It's very hard to hear people. And so this space seems like it would be a little quieter. And then hopefully renting the space on the river to do a forum, a community forum with a panel of speakers, and where people can answer questions and ask questions and sort of, engaging the community as to like, what can individuals do in our, what can individuals do to change the status quo around domestic violence? How can we support folks who are experiencing violence? How can we change things? So it's like be an upstander, not a bystander, is the focus. And so we were looking at 5:30 on October 6th. It's a Thursday, doing the vigil outside where we honor those whose lives have been lost due to domestic violence, and provide an opportunity for people to speak out if they'd like, and then go inside at 6 o'clock and have a panel with Maine State Police, maybe someone from the DA's office, someone from the high school or middle school, someone from legal services for the elderly, someone from Family Violence Project. Kristen's going to moderate it. And we're hoping to have some food there, just some snacky things because it is around dinner time. There's water left over from the baby shower that we'll be using, which is great. So just trying to figure out how to get all the pieces together, so it was brought up in yesterday's meeting that maybe SCARP could be a funder of some of the food. And so that would be very nice. We'd be very grateful. So I'll put it out to you. And if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you, Michelle.
Can we vote right now?
Yes, you can. It's on a poll.
Oh, there's a poll.
There is a poll.
Okay.
Before I launch the poll, are there any questions from anyone to clear up before? Because it's just a yes or no answer.
So how much are we talking about, and who else is donating food, or who else have you approached to donate food?
I would say we've not approached anybody else regarding donating food outside of the individuals that attended the meeting and that were willing to more on a personal level contribute. That way, outside of the water that was left over from the baby shower. So that's where we've done what we've done so far.
But what about the committee that's putting it together, Michelle? Have you guys approached any of the other local?
We haven't. It's hard because because it's October, we have other events going on too.
Right.
So we're already approaching restaurants for like donations for gift certificates for the 5K, and approaching Hannaford for food for the 5K. So we don't want to like double dip or double ask. So this was just an opportunity, it seemed, to not have to ask lots of people for the same things.
Yeah, I know that Fry Hoppers, they're on 201 going into Waterville, always donated free food when we did the Senior Appreciation Day. So somebody might want to talk to them.
And they're called what?
Fry Hoppers, where you can get old bread, and although the bread's perfectly good, but it's on the
Okay.
left as you're driving into Waterville.
Okay.
And so they have baked goods, basically. Discounted. So they were always kind enough to donate to when we had Triad for the Senior Appreciation Day. So we had food.
Okay. That's a good resource. Thank you.
Did someone say the amount? I also think that it's not an event where people come for the purpose of eating. So I don't think that it's going to be a situation where we're going to need a lot of funds to purchase, things for people to eat if they want to eat something while they're there. I'm assuming, and I know I was part of the meeting, but I was sort of off and on other things, that it's just like, I know we've had cookies and apples and water there before, so.
And I think that's what we're just picturing as some snacky things to tide people over, because it is like the dinner hour. We're expecting people to probably come after work, 5:30 to 7. So it's not a meal, but it's just something to like get people through it so they can still focus and be present. Yeah, and Rob put out a flyer is in the works. We're still ironing out the details. So that's why we don't have anything yet. So our apologies, but hopefully by the end of the week, we'll have something concrete that we can make a brochure on.
Yeah, no need to apologize. I just love to be able to come up and support the effort if it's possible, and get a chance to spend some more time with the community and all of you. So anything I can do to do that, just please let me know.
Awesome. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I will just put in the plug because I know that a couple people have asked about the amount. So where this discussion was very recent, it was mentioned yesterday, and then we had our meeting today. So to just, for the sake of time, we figured that polling everyone of their opinion of just making a monetary donation in general. And if the majority says yes, we can have a larger group discussion on what that amount would be. So that way everyone's aware, everyone has their input that they can make rather than us coming and saying, this is the amount we want to make, do you agree or not? Would that work for everyone? Okay. I will launch the poll. All right, I have 10 out of 11 and it was 100% yes, so that's wonderful. So I think now we can talk about the amount and what SCARP would like that to look like.
Because it was my understanding if we're able to hold the vigil at the venue, there's also a fee linked to that as well at $40 an hour. So the SCARP has the opportunity of supporting that piece. So we're supporting the venue. If people are more comfortable with that and where the money, the donation money is going. And then we can always look for donated apples and things like that if need be for snacks outside of the water. So there's a couple of different options that we have available to us.
That's awesome. Thank you all.
Any questions? Thoughts, feedback?
Is this one we're supposed to be talking about an amount?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Because we had a couple of different options, and I'm sorry, my phone's in my office is ringing, so I apologize. Where we can either support with the hourly venue fee that will be needed in order to have it at this venue, or we can look at another monetary amount to support any food, refreshments, paper products, those types of things.
Can we do both food and the donation of the fee space?
How much money do we have? I probably missed that. I'm sure Sonia said, but what is the balance at this point?
It's, I can't remember if it's 1,100 or 1,700. Sorry, and I left the statement at home, but I know we have over $1,000 in our account right now.
I'm feeling as though if we could support the cost of the space, I think donations would come through for the food. Because again, we're not serving a whole meal. And I'm thinking initially 2 hours because part of this event is outside. So if SCARP could support a 2-hour rental, which would be a total of $80, that's what I would propose.
That makes sense to me. Yeah. And I think it seems like the apple farms, that some of the apple farms would donate apples, right? Maybe.
And I just want to acknowledge it said $50 in one place and $40 in another. So I haven't heard back at what the actual cost is. So I just want to let folks know that.
So if, let's say it's $80, if we supported it with $150, we could buy a couple of trays of cookies and then get apples donated, and we have water. And $150 to me seems a reasonable amount. Anyone else agree, disagree?
I would agree with that.
And then, I mean, the other option is, right, if people donate cookies and we don't spend the $150, can it be returned to SCARP, right? Does it have to be, right? But I think it allows for like some guarantee that we'll have some cookies and water and apples for folks who attend.
And that'll be nice to put on the flyers too, because everyone loves cookies and apples.
Any additional questions or thoughts, proposals, concerns, additional resources? Are we ready to vote?
Are you saying voting on the $150 amount?
That or the $80 amount that Rob proposed. So we had two proposals. One is to cover, let's say if it's just covering the cost of the venue, whether that's $80 to $100, that would be specific for that, or encompassing both like Kristen proposed and do the $150. So we cover the revenue plus we have monies for any refreshments or other needed items.
I'll remove my thought, whether we're doing formal motions or not. So go with Kristen's.
So then we would just be voting on Kristen's proposal of a donation of $150 to Family Violence Project to support the DV vigil scheduled in October.
I'm just creating a poll real quick. I didn't have that prep. So if you
I
can
know,
just give me.
I know. You're doing good. You're doing
I
good.
like this use of polls. It's kind of fun.
It is. It's
Me
very
too.
interactive.
Can we just poll everything? Like, let's just like have the meeting in polls.
Well, it does get people's involvement. You actually are you're all physically participating and you're all mentally participating, but this is a way of really getting your voice out, and I like that too. And then it's anonymous. Nobody knows if you're standing on your head. I saw a picture on Facebook that, no, maybe it was LinkedIn that said it was a company that wanted to take a picture of all of their executive staff in what they wore during Zoom. You saw that too, Rob? And you should have seen they were really dressed to the hilt and the top, and then they had their boxers on or their fuzzy slippers. So I thought that was hilarious. Hilarious. Because I used to go home and my business casual was my dress shirt and my sweatpants. So I had business casual. So nobody really knew. Thank you, Jody.
All right, that poll should be up for everyone now.
Thank you so much.
And again, we have 100%. So we'll figure that out. The board will figure that out on how we can make that happen. But thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. So the next agenda item is discussing meetings for next year. So I reached out to Pastor Jen, who has graciously offered her space in the church for quarterly in-person meetings. And so we really wanted to discuss when we want those quarterly meetings done. I know we sent emails out amongst the board as far as SCARP goes to get some ideas where we wanted to really take out the summer months when we don't meet as well. And the thought was, and remind me, Brittany, I'm looking at you. November, was November one of them?
Gosh, I'd have to look. I think,
February, June, and September.
yes, and then November, because I had mentioned that the September and November meeting will feel really close, but where we don't meet in July, it might be helpful for us to meet in person twice that close together. And just to go off of that, so the results for that Microsoft form poll that I had sent out with the different options, it was tied between having a hybrid version and having mainly virtual with a quarterly in-person. So that's why we're talking about the quarterly in-person meeting.
We currently don't have the electronic equipment to do a hybrid. So that's another barrier that we're facing. The church themselves don't have that equipment available for themselves, let alone others. So we were trying to eliminate that, or get over that hurdle at this time. So we thought, if we could still at least accommodate some of the in-person, that would be helpful. What do you all think about those 4 months that we were looking at? My concern was a little bit around the holidays, because Thanksgiving, we're the third Thursday of the month. That's right before Thanksgiving, if it isn't Thanksgiving itself, based on how it falls in the on the calendar. But so that was a concern of mine, knowing that December is probably not the best month to get together in person either, as attendance is a little bit lower on those because of vacations and winding things up before the new year. So we understood that as well when we talked. Anybody have any additional thoughts on that? What your thoughts might be?
Tell me the months again, please, Lisa or Brittany or somebody.
February. November was one. Was it February, Brittany? June, and then September.
Yeah, so in the, sorry, I'm looking at my big calendar. So if you break the year up into quarters, it was the second month of each quarter, but the second month of the third quarter was August. And so that's why it got moved to September. So if you can kind of visualize it that way.
Yeah.
And hopefully that will help us avoid vacations and holidays majority of the time, hopefully.
And I think with the September meeting, we really, really stemmed a lot from that annual meeting that we've been talking about as well, to try to gear it up. But that way it would also, with the changing of the guard, so to speak, in the elections, that we could stay true to that as well in that cycle, so to speak. Does that have anybody? Excuse me, I'm a little tongue tied. I apologize. I've only had 2 cups of coffee yet today, and yesterday at this time I had 4. So Dana's laughing. It was a good coffee day yesterday. So any feedback or, any questions, concerns regarding the in-person months that we were discussing?
I think in-person meetings are great. We held the first consortium meeting for the Pathways to Recovery group in person last month, and it just felt so wonderful to meet in person. It's the first time we've met in over 2 years, right? And it just felt wonderful. So I think anytime we can do that is a really good, it's a good thing for making connections and just being around each other and supporting each other in the work that we're doing. However, I will put this caveat in there that it might make sense to be flexible and know that even though you have these tentative in-person meetings, that you may need to have them via Zoom. I just read in the morning paper today that one of the elementary schools has gone remote because of a surge of COVID. So as long as folks are flexible and can understand it could change, go in-person meeting.
Thank you for the reminder of the COVID. And again, that would be another prime reason during flu season to really look at, not getting together, if at all possible, just to kind of keep the exposure or potential exposures down. Michelle just posted that she needs to go. Bye, Michelle. Thank you so much. She has put some links in the chat as well for some upcoming events. Remember, we do have and I'm sorry, and I'll just do this now, and I apologize. She posted the link for the 5K to NDV as well for folks to sign up. They have team options as well, or individual signups. Also, her link to some volunteer options, and then Family Violence Project does have some job openings as well, and she placed those in the link for you. And Brittany will put those. Well, we don't send out paper, do we? Minutes. I apologize. Not paper, excuse me. Everything is posted on Facebook, correct? I have so many meetings, some it's paper, minutes, some it's, I got lost.
The minutes will get sent out by email, and when we do the agency updates, if your organization or agency has an update with a flyer, if you can send that flyer to me, I can attach it to that email with the minutes. So I'll make sure that I add her links to the meeting minute email.
Thank you. And I apologize. So I'm tentatively for meetings in person with flexibility based on the health of our current population and communities. I know at times in previous meetings for SCARP, whether they were in person, it's a little bit different when you're Zoom, but we used to have presenters or topics or things that we wanted to discuss as well. And so I guess we would like some feedback from all of you, is if there's anything in particular outside of, you know, the updates that Karen's giving us in the community fridge and things. What are some things that that you all would like to see come from SCARP? How would you like, you know, any events, any topics, presenters, things like that? Hi, Linda.
Well, I have a question to ask the group. And Kristen, I'm glad you're here because I was going to reach out to you as well. And I'm not sure this is the correct forum to ask, but if it isn't, just forgive my ignorance. It's come to my attention recently, several people have asked about a community resource event, like a public event. And years ago, we had the old SCAG Fair, right, at Skowhegan High School. It was bringing community together. People sold, businesses were there. People put up raffles for quilts that they made for different organizations. It was like a little fundraiser. It was a fun day. Families could come, kids could come. And people were just asking, like, do you know if there's any like community events coming up, like a resource fair or something? I don't know if that's something this group could help organize, promote, if it's something more for Kristen through KB Cap. And I don't know if you all have heard anything like that, but just leave it open for discussion.
I haven't heard of a resource fair, and there used to be one. Oh, I think at Pittsfield School used to do one, but it's been several years since they had it. And they did both. It was both for employment, but it also was linking individuals to community-based resources. So it was a little bit of both during that time. But that was, oh my gosh, probably 5 years ago.
Partnership with the town of Pittsfield and our transition team that put that on. So, yeah, it was, and then the numbers started dying down because, well, at that point, people were going back to work. So, so the town manager discontinued that. But yeah, I think that's a great idea. It's always amazing how often I find that people aren't aware of, you know, the resources. And I know many years ago, United Way in Waterville did a survey, I think of, well, maybe it was just Somerset, but anyway, and surprisingly, we, you know, about needs, and we all thought it would be like transportation, but it came back that the fact that folks didn't know what was out there, and that was the number one thing, that's they just didn't know. So I think that's a good idea.
I agree. I think it's a great idea. And I think of the baby shower, and it was essentially, or it is essentially a resource fair, right? Disguised as a baby shower, like dressed up in a baby shower costume. And so if we could do something, right, similar, that would be a fun fair or fun event that folks could get information about accessing resources. I think that would be amazing. And I feel like, you know, the name of SCARP, right? It makes sense for that to be something that SCARP takes on. Yeah, I would love to be part of organizing that.
I was going to say, I feel like the baby shower, national night out, Scalpendus, those are the type of events I think of as being resource oriented, but they're not called resource fairs.
Right.
Yep.
So true, Rob.
So do we use those venues to just invite more resources, or do we do something that's only basically a resource fair? I gotta say, when people show up, they like to go away with something more than just pamphlets. So you need to think about the, you know, I think that's the good thing about like Scalpendus and all. There's all kinds of stuff going on that brings them in. I think, you know, so we have to figure out how, if you're going to do one that's just a resource fair, how we're going to market that and how we're going to get people there. And so when they walk away, they feel like they walked away with something more than a pamphlet.
Who organized the old SCAG fair? Does anyone know?
I think most of those people are retired, gone, or dead. So I hate to say that, but I think it was some of the older leaders in the community that did that. But probably a good starting point to find out would be maybe like the women's club here in town, like through Davita Barter, or I'm trying to think. Evelyn Bowman probably was part of that, and I don't know that she gets out very, she's quite up there. So, and it used to be, because I think because it was in February, there could be a blizzard out there, and that place was packed. And then over the years, I think the people who participated, it started changing, and the numbers started dying out, and then it just quietly, I think, went away. But yeah, and it used to be that, like you said, Linda, that great combination of resource plus, again, people were walking away with stuff. Food was there, baked goods, people had the fundraisers going. I think SCARP even, we used to have a table there, or we did a couple times, yeah. So, and for whatever reasons, all that started changing, and so people stopped going.
I like the combination when we had it in Pittsfield of your career opportunities as well as your resources. And so it was more combined. I liked that. I liked that. You're right. There were a lot more people. And then if you had a reason why you went, you were bound to come out with something other than what you went there for.
We have been talking at the Somerset County Substance Use Task Force about looking at a background friendly employment type fair / resource fair. So I do think anytime you can sort of tag it on to something else that's going on, but then bring in all of the providers to have their resources there is helpful. So
I think if we talk with the Career Center, I'm pretty sure we could probably get KVCC to host the place to have it, but it means getting people to Hinckley. But any place else might not be free. I don't know. We could talk to the high school, but then you have to deal with the maintenance people and the people they have to have on whatever. But I think if we talked with the Career Center and KVCC, that might be a starting point anyway. And usually the job fairs out there have been fairly well attended that we put on. So, if it's in the spring, more the better, because then you've got, if you do it like early April, you've got the students coming in and we're starting to look for jobs too. And they can certainly benefit from knowing what the resources are if they're staying in the area. For most of those people I can still pull together. They're still part of the transition team, and I still have a strong connection with the Career Center, so I'd be glad to help out with it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think April would be a great time, right? People are just itching to get out and do something. They're kind of done with March and wanting to get reconnected with folks. But I think you're right, Dana. I think to have it be a cell, like a community cell, it needs to be marketed as like activities too for kids. If we want people there, we need to do something that's very energizing and fun for kids.
Well, and again, April is Child Abuse Awareness Month, so we do have, now I'm blanking on it, Scalpendus, there we go, in April.
I feel like things happen like April, June, July, and then there's not a lot from September to April. What happens? A lot of months.
Winter.
February or March may be a good time if you promote it as almost like a cabin fever. Yeah.
But a lot of your seasonal employees are also going to start looking more in the March area than they are closer to the Aprils, because many places are going back to work in April. So I like the March too, because that's a nice way to get up and out. Even the February idea was great.
Just as long as I can tell you from experience, as long as you build in a snow date. Because we have done that, and invariably we've had to rely on the snow date.
Thank you, Linda, for bringing this up. It's great. And Dana for volunteering. Any other thoughts? Hi, Brittany.
I'm just wondering, just I guess for some clarity, it sounds like majority of us are on board for that. And if we're thinking that this would be a good event for like February or March, are we thinking that it would be this February or March or the year after? And I'm just thinking about time wise, and if that's the case, maybe using our in-person November meeting as like a really good, I guess, using that hour for something like this, and designating different work groups, because February or March is going to be here before we know it.
Well, I think depending on whether you want to use KVCC as a venue, I would at least, and I will take this on, I would at least reach out to the Career Center and to KVCC to make sure that they don't already have something going on during the time. We have to figure out when, and if we want to use Hinckley, if that would be available, or if or maybe they have something we can, collaborate with. But checking with them to see, because that everybody starts coming awake in early spring, let's face it. Yeah, like Kristen said, everything starts happening all of a sudden. So making sure that we aren't overlapping with everybody else's cabin fever activities. But I can certainly put my feelers out to both and see how they feel about that time.
Thank you.
Was the old Skag Fair during February school break? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Any other thoughts? So that we know we were looking at a February, March. Dana's going to reach out to see what they may have available. And then we can go from there. Does that sound doable? Any other thoughts or suggestions of what we would like to see for our year? Any type of presentations or presenters or topics of discussion?
I personally liked it when we've had trainings in the past, so to get to know some of the programs that were at agencies. What I would say is, as we're, running out of time already for today, is we need to decide, is it going to be a 1 hour meeting, or if we're going to add trainings, is this a 2 hour meeting?
Right.
So I offered this to the DV task force, which I think some people overlap that group as well, but I have the new 2021 statistics around child abuse and neglect for the state and more specifically Somerset County, which I would love to share at a SCARP meeting. I have mandated reporter training that would be great to do. It's 2 hours though, again, so it'd, be a longer meeting. And then the front porch project training or protective factors training that I can also offer.
And I think in the past we talked about some of those trainings like mandated reporting that almost every agency is mandated to have on a regular basis so that, folks, because all the individual agencies are usually doing it, and it would be nice if we had one where they could just send the folks that need the updates or whatever. But
Yeah.
there's other training I think that would be beneficial to probably most of the people in SCARP, and if we could look at any other of the mandated trainings that would be that folks need, that would be helpful.
Absolutely. I also like to just mention Narcan training. I don't know if SCARP has had that, but Karen or Linda, maybe you can share.
I was actually just typing in the chat. I could do a Narcan training with this group as well.
Now, so Rob brought up a good idea. So if we're doing our quarterly, do we want to extend those quarterlies to the 2 hours, and that's when we have our trainings? And then during these times where we're meeting virtually, really focus on other business such as the resource fair and other things. And what are your all's thought?
I think it makes sense, and it might bring in more people to the live, get them there if they knew that they were, again, going to be walking away with something beneficial. Because not everybody understands I think the importance of making connections all the time. And so they kind of, put other priorities but if we were offering something that they saw as being beneficial, I think that would be a good idea.
So is that an agreement? So our in-person group, when in person, we do 2 hours, and that's where our training sessions or trainings are done?
Can I just ask a clarifying question? Are you saying that we would use the first hour as what we normally do, and then the second hour is training, or using the entire 2 hours as training?
I would say using probably the 2 hours as training, only because of the training that is happening. Like with the mandated reporter, Kristen, how long is your mandated reporter training typically?
2 hours.
Okay, so there's that. And I know I think that using the full 2 hours in person for training. Yeah.
But can we also build in some networking time? Because people are going to want to talk to one another and or whatever, and connect. So, I mean, that's the main purpose of SCARP. So I think it's trying to figure, I don't know, Kristen, can you hone it down to an hour and a half?
So I have to say that the training is 2 hours. Sometimes it takes less time than that. Sometimes it takes 2 hours. Yes, depending on participation and questions. Does that answer your question, Dana?
Yeah. I'm just thinking, for me, it would be beneficial to do like a half training, half networking, or 3/4 training and 1/4. But I think it's really important that we work in the networking time.
I agree with that, Dana, and my own 2 cents. I think it's great to do both. I would almost suggest doing our typical networking conversation starting at 9 o'clock, where everyone's used to that, and then having that other piece is optional, because some agencies might not want their staff gone for 2 hours, and so people are getting that core piece of what we already do, and then they have that option to stay and get some extra education.
Does that sound okay to folks as well? Brittany, folks agree with both you and Dana regarding the networking piece in the morning and then at the beginning and then doing the trainings thereafter. And you're right, the networking is important, which is why we all come together. And I think, and Rob, try to remind me, Dana, when we did the SCARP for the 2 hours, that presentation was an hour specifically, wasn't it? And that we did the agency piece and introductions and business training, and then we did our agency updates and things thereafter.
Yeah, we always had the networking component because that is truly what a lot of people were coming for. The trainings weren't even necessarily a full hour. They were, we even tried to have them briefer than that. As people were talking, it's like, I like the brief presentation if something's quick, but maybe SCARP sponsors, you know, like after hours. So for those that need it or want it, they could come if we could get the space. And that's when you have like the Kristen 2-hour trainings, because it really is a 2-hour training. But something short, or, you know, like an agency overview, maybe it's a new program that's being offered. But I think of them as like those brief trainings.
Basically it was, you know, we had the agency spotlights every month, and someone would present for maybe 15-20 minutes, take questions. So it wasn't, rarely did we go a full hour or whatever. We just rotated, you know, people, we had a thing where people signed up what month they wanted to present their agency, basically. And then that's, you know, how it rolled. And every now and then we would have something else. We also, though, during election year, we also sponsored breakfasts for the candidates and had them come in. So we did that too, something to think about.
And I'd put that out. That was not so much for the candidates to talk, but it was more for us to talk to the candidates about what the needs and the gaps were in our service areas.
All right. So for sake of time, and Rob is right, it's now 10 o'clock. We've got a lot of great topics and things we've discussed. So I would say going forward, Dana, once you let us know if they have the availability, then we can make further planning, even if we send out emails thereafter to the group on what Dana's been able to discover regarding February or March. That'll allow us the opportunity to plan for any type of resource career fair that we would like to do, and then get a group together. We may want to think about a subcommittee thereafter, because if we're going to pull this together, doing it on a once a month is probably not going to help any of us get it together and get it together in a good solid form as well. So we know we're going to have our quarterly in-person meetings, with the first one in November. I will reach out to Jen and I will go ahead and meet with her. We have to sign a facility agreement, and I'll make sure that I have that. And if I have any questions or you all want to review it first, please let me know before I put my signature on anything. And that I'm okay with that also. So it's more of a collaborative piece.
And I definitely think that the in-person should definitely be 2 hours. Is that what we agreed on?
Yeah, yes, my phone in here is ringing again. I'm sorry, this phone is relentless and it rings throughout the whole building. So even if it's not for you, so I apologize. And there's no way of stopping it.
Phone, Lisa.
You can't hear it?
Phone. I don't hear your phone. Does anyone else? No.
My God, I can't tell you how many times this phone has rang. It's probably rung 10 times.
Never knew.
Oh, perfect. That's good. Then I won't stop muting myself.
Just one question for clarification. Is one of those live meetings going to be like our annual plan for the year meeting?
We had talked about that, and where it traditionally fallen in September. That's where we were hoping, or our plan was to stick to that in September. And that's when the voting, again, we will do the voting according to the bylaws on those at that time period. Because we are over and we've had a lot of discussions, Brittany's asking that if there are any agency updates, if you could please email to them to scarpboard@gmail.com, and she'll make sure that she sends all of those out along with the minutes. Any final comments, questions, concerns before we end? And I really appreciate everybody being here and sharing in the conversation. If you have none, thank you so very much for being here. And you will be hearing from us again. And Linda, I know you're going to be an active participant in this resource fair planning. Thank you so very much. Enjoy your day. Enjoy the cool weather, the apples.